So in this video, we're going to be looking at choosing your location. Now, there's lots of things to consider as always when it comes to choosing your perfect buy-to-let opportunity. Location very often is right at the top. That's why the old adage of location is often kind of touted when it comes to kind of securing and buying property, whether you're a homeowner or an investor, because it covers up all manner of potential problems if you get the right location over a long period of time. But there are things to kind of consider with location. Now, there's certainly data sets out there where you can look at population growth and investment in area, what the demand is in terms of how many people are wanting to kind of buy in that location, how fast properties are maybe selling in a given area. All of these count. But before you look at that, you really need to consider, as a personal preference, what you really want from your buy-to-let properties and what you really want from your locations. So do you want something that is going to be local to you? So do you want something that's going to be on your doorstep? Maybe just personal preference. Maybe you love the area where you live or work and you just want something kind of close by. You want to drive past it in the early evening on the way back from work and you want to make sure it's kind of still there and still looked after. And that's absolutely fine. I 100% get that. And we have properties kind of close by to us that we have not necessarily for that reason, but it's nice sometimes to have a property in kind of a local location. But just because it's nice, is that the right reason to kind of secure a property just in your area? Do the rest of the fundamentals work for it? So does it have the right tenant profile, potential for capital growth? Is it the right sort of rental yield? All of these key things to maybe consider as well when it comes to your location. But local is one thing, national is obviously the other alternate, or even international for kind of some investors. But if you're comparing local to national, the third element to that is going to be management. So there are some benefits to kind of each of these and certainly some kind of advantages and disadvantages if it were. So just to touch on the kind of national side and then we'll look at kind of management and then we'll come back to kind of local. So first of all, national. What I would say is some of the benefits from kind of investing nationally across maybe the UK or even England or Wales or Scotland obviously or Northern Ireland. You have benefits here where you can really focus on a particular property type or tenant type or rental yield, and you have a wide area that you can maybe consider for that. So if your personal criteria is student tenants, for example, and you maybe want 8% rental yield, well, there's going to be many places around the UK where you can kind of consider that and you can look at those potential properties. Major cities with major universities, secondary cities or towns with kind of secondary universities will still have this wide range of options where you can get very strong rental yields, 8% rental yields on your student-let properties. And it gives you a bigger pool to consider. So you can maybe favour one area over another. Now, I'll give some examples, but I'm not saying that these are specifics, let's say, per se. But you could choose to favour Preston maybe over Liverpool if you felt that the rest of the fundamentals for Preston were stronger. So if you felt the capital growth was better or the university maybe had slightly better recent results, or maybe the rental yield is 9% instead of 8%. If you're investing nationally, you have that luxury of being able to really choose a wide pool of locations and then narrow it down into a smaller subset of the right ones for yourself. Whereas if you're investing locally, you have a very defined area that you can kind of focus on. Now this plays into the next element, which is management, because fundamentally, lots of people look to invest locally because of the management criteria. They want to be hands-on with management. They want to save any costs associated with the management, or they feel like they can do a better job, or they feel like they want to be very close and local and nearby any tenants in case there's any potential issues for the property. Or maybe you even have a particular skill set or a trade that you want to use when it comes to managing the property to really add value or save costs in terms of running that property. And that's absolutely fine. I fully get that. And local investment and local properties can really help if you are wanting to self-manage. But if you're looking to use a managing agent, then going further afield, you have the ability to choose from a whole range of managing agents that can be very specific and suited and specialist in your marketplace in terms of location, property type and tenant type. So I'd look at, in terms of trying to condense down this local, national management kind of question, if it were, fundamentally down to the management first. If you're comfortable with using a management agent, that opens the opportunity for national and local. If you're not, then clearly you're going to be wanting to self-manage, and you need that therefore to be on your doorstep. It just doesn't work from what we've seen traveling an hour and a half or even an hour in some instances if you're self-managing a property, because that gets tired very quickly. It adds up in terms of the time, lots of opportunity cost. If a tenant calls and says we've got this issue, it's not that easy just to jump in the car on a Sunday evening and travel for an hour to kind of get there and an hour back. It gets, as I say, it gets tired kind of very quickly. I've done that for many years in our portfolio. We've changed now. We have full management in all of our properties, and life is much simpler, let's say, when it comes to the kind of the running of those properties. So I would always favour fully managed. There's lots of things happening now in the rental market that mean a very specialist letting agent can add a lot of value for you. There's so many things to consider, not just in terms of the tenant applications, but the deposits, the management, notice periods. All of these things are changing, and it feels like it's changing on a regular basis. So having a skilled letting agent that is up to date and aware of all of these key elements can really add some value to you. So if you're strong on self-managing, then location locally is going to be nearby for you. Obviously, that's going to be paramount. If you're happy with managing or using a letting agent to manage the property, then you open up for local and also national. I don't have a preference in terms of local or national personally. We invest outside of our area, and I would happily invest in other locations that are further afield from where we invest kind of currently. What I would say to consider in this though is, if you're just starting out in property and it's your first property, or maybe you're adding a couple new properties to your portfolio, is try and focus on an area where you'd be comfortable over the longer term, and maybe comfortable adding more than just one property to that portfolio, because otherwise you're building in many inefficiencies in terms of that portfolio. What you'll end up doing is, if you're really fragmented, is you might have a property in Newcastle, and then another one in Norwich, and then another one in London, and another one in Liverpool, which sounds great for diversification. But the downside to that is that you then need 4 managing agents across those areas. You then need 4 plumbers and 4 joiners and 4 electricians and 4 maintenance teams to cover those sorts of properties. And you have no ability to kind of start to really get the benefits of what scale can bring to a portfolio. And having a very good relationship with a letting agent, a very good relationship with a local maintenance person is gold when it comes to running a portfolio of properties, or even 1 or 2 properties, simply without kind of too much headache. So when it comes to location, really stripping that kind of down, I'd say look at management first. Are you self-managing, or are you using a letting agent? And then from there, when it comes to location, if you have a local bias, fantastic. If you have a national bias because you want to go to a particular area for rental yield, that can work really well. It's just a case of trying to understand how you're going to really run that portfolio when you start to maybe pick up a little bit of scale. Hope that helps. And in the next video, we're going to be looking at the data sets, what really makes up the key kind of data points and where to find them when you're picking your area. Now you've maybe got an idea of if it's on your doorstep or if it's a town further away or a city further away. All the best.